Welcome to Reaction Book Recommendations Survivor Edition. I'm Kathy Ellen. I'm a writer, a teacher, a mama, a Ninja Warrior athlete, and a huge Survivor fan and someone who wants to be on the show someday. So I'm going to react to each episode in season 47 with 3 book recommendations that match the vibes of that episode. Let's get into the vibes. This was a bit of a calmer episode. We get it. All the survivors are there. They're trying to survive. People are making moves, even though they might not need to be just yet. We check back in with Rome, who got to open the box, told someone else that he didn't get to read it yet. Then that person told someone else, which Rome wasn't that sure about, but he eventually got the idol that was good for one tribal council. We get the 100-watt smile from Andy when he walks into that next challenge because everyone else probably believed that he was going to get voted out. And the challenge was awesome. You really had to work as a team. I know you're like, Kathy Ellen, isn't that the point of the challenges, that they have to work as a team? But the specific challenges within this challenge directly required teamwork. Oh, and another idol was found on Gata/the Yellow Tribe while they were all hyping up Andy and pretending they were friends with him and that he was really cool. I mean, that part is fine, but I'm not going to really base any book recs off of it because it kind of breaks my heart that they're pretending to like him, even though I get that it's Survivor. Tied for the biggest story for me of the episode was Rachel on the Gata/Yellow Tribe taking some rice from the challenge and stuffing it in her back pockets. This was a genius move because she could take it back to camp and cook it. But then Jeff called her out and she had to empty out her pockets. I'm sad that happened because what a smart move on Rachel's part. That is really thinking like a survivor. Honestly, I think that she earned it by being brave enough and bold enough to go for it. I'm upset that Jeff didn't let it go. The other biggest story was TK on the Blue Tribe being mad about losing and voicing that. Look, I don't like losing. I don't think anyone on Survivor does. So it was a bit obvious when he said he was upset about losing and upset about people smiling because they shouldn't be smiling. We lost, even though Tiana had just said all of our smiles are fake, we're upset. Then he basically said he didn't want to work with people who were losing or were okay with losing or who lost. Again, I think it was pretty much established that they were all upset about losing, so it was just weird for him to voice things that already were talked about. It felt like a little much, honestly. Then later when they got back to camp, he said he wanted everybody on the tribe to have the same mindset as him. That's not how teams made up of individual people work, unfortunately. And of course, everyone wants to win. Who wouldn't want to avoid going to tribal council? I loved how Tiana kept repeating to herself, my instinct is always right. My instinct is always right, as she was walking up to vote at that tribal council. She was one of the tribe mates who voted out TK tonight, which is kind of funny because it flies in the face of the thing that I ranted about last episode. If you didn't catch that one, you can click it here. I was complaining that people who are perceived as not as physically strong usually get voted out first. But look what happened here. They do this and throw in an interesting data point for the season. That's it for the vibes. On to the book recommendations. This one's for TK and anyone who wants to work with a team or coach a team or has been on a team. It's called Life is Short, Don't Wait to Dance, Advice and Inspiration from the UCLA Athletic Hall of Fame coach of 7 NCAA championship teams, Valerie Condos Field, with Steve Cooper. And you can see I have a signed copy. I met this author and coach at a book selling conference in California and immediately saw with dance in the title that this was not a book for me. But I got a signed copy anyway and I ended up reading it years later. And I was so glad I did. Coach Val led the UCLA gymnastics team to 7 championship winning NCAA seasons without even really knowing how to do any gymnastic stuff. I love how she talks about her athletes and strives to understand them and find individualized solutions to the problems that are plaguing them. Most of all, her ego is nowhere to be found when she's helping her athletes. This is a great book for anyone to read. I love reading stories about inspiring women and people who have had success in kind of non-traditional ways. Plus, it's one of those nonfiction books that has color photos in the middle. Oh yeah. This next book rec is for Andy and anyone who is happy to be where they're at. It's called Happy Dreamer. It's by Peter H. Reynolds. You can honestly never go wrong with a Peter H. Reynolds book. His illustrations are inviting and whimsical, and his stories just make you feel good about yourself. This one is about all the different ways to dream in the world. You could be quiet or loud. It talks about being creative and messy, feeling alone and boxed in, and more. I especially love this part. Check it out. You can't even see all of it because there's so much going on here. The overwhelming message is to be yourself, do what you love, and chase your happiness. This last one is for Rachel and anyone who thinks outside of the box, is clever, and sees options where there are seemingly none. It's 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. In case you didn't pick it up earlier, I loved that Rachel got that rice. And I immediately thought, what character in a book that I've read would have done that as well? The answer is Shiori, the star of 6 Crimson Cranes. She's the only princess of her homeland, Kiata, and has 6 older brothers. In her land, magic is forbidden, even though she has it and has kept it under control. Until one day she can't keep her magic under control. Her stepmother, whom she loves dearly, notices and also ends up having magic and casts a spell on her and her brothers. Her stepmother banishes her, putting this magical bowl over her head so no one could recognize her, and turns her 6 brothers into cranes. The worst part, Shiori can't speak a word about it to anyone because for each word that she speaks, one of her brothers will die. Somehow, she has to find a way to turn them back into boys and men, and she has to figure out how to break her curse while also fighting against a conspiracy to seize her father's throne. It's a lot, but Shiori is up for the task. She's brave, cunning, wise, clever, funny, and never gives up. She would have totally taken that rice from the Survivor Challenge. I read through this so quickly. It's an amazing story with engaging characters, a really cool fantasy land, and some twists. After you read this one, you should grab the second book, which is A Dragon's Promise, and then you can read the prequel, which is called Her Radiant Curse. That's it for my book recommendations this week. Do you think you'll pick one of these up and give it a read? Until next time, happy reading and keep surviving.